We're three local guys from Long Beach. I'm Brendan Finn.
I'm Chris Fiamara.
I'm Mike Reinhart, and we're running for Long Beach City Council.
So stick with us. We're going to have a couple of episodes where we discuss the reasons why we're running. All right, welcome back to Unite the Beach podcast. And last time we talked about the different problems and topics that are really interest to most people in Long Beach. And one of the big things that I'm finding out, I know these guys are too, as we walk around and talk to people, is taxes, right? And the taxes in Long Beach, talked about it, 30% over the last 4 years. That's a cumulative tax increase. It's really...
And technically, one of the largest increases in any incorporated village in the United States.
Yeah, right.
History.
It's gonna drive people out of town. It's gonna make it impossible for the elderly people to pay their mortgages,
seniors,
or pay their taxes.
People, middle class.
It affects everybody. Resident in Long Beach.
Even if you pay off your home, the generation after that may not even be able to afford the taxes to stay there if your home is paid off.
Yeah, and everybody talks about that.
Yeah.
The other thing everybody talks about is
that big elephant in the room.
Right.
The Haberman.
Yeah, and you know what brings up the conversation is the giant building blocks that are going up on the super block, right? Those giant buildings. But the Haberman thing is something that most people in Long Beach don't really understand.
Well, they're both two huge problems, and why I say that is, one, the Haberman debacle is, besides the fact not many people really know the true timeline. I know somebody like yourself with your investigative background. We spoke in depth about this and the amount of investigation and timelines you put together, how versed you are on the subject. So I'll let you talk most about that. But when I say they're big problems, they're big problems because of the settlement issues I'll let you talk about Haberman. But then you have the super block, which, again, the taxpayers, us, the residents, are paying for that. We're subsidizing that because of the abatements they got in the tens of millions of dollars. So I'll let you, I know you know a lot about Haberman and what could have been done in the timeline and so on and so forth.
The thing about Haberman is that this was a settlement that could have been taken care of before the judge banged the gavel and gave that number of $131 million. The city had the opportunity to make a settlement. The council, the city, the corporation council, but the city council had this opportunity in 2020 to 2021, about 13 months during the inquest trial, where they could have made an offer and say, all right, let's settle this now before we have to go all the way to the end. Mm-hmm. And they didn't do it.
And one of the most damning statements that came out over that debacle was the attorneys for Haberman came out publicly and said, the City Council of Long Beach was extremely foolish for not negotiating and settling.
And there was an opportunity to settle this to almost next to nothing. Is that correct?
There was. There was. They had this opportunity to do that, but we have to focus on that they had this chance to make an offer. Right. And if they had done that, things would have been different, and we wouldn't be facing this. But on the other hand, 10%, which is the increase this year, that's not all Haberman. I mean, let's face it, because the year before they had a large increase as well when Haberman wasn't part of the deal yet.
Right. That 10%, if you go over the past 4 years, it's a cumulative of 30%.
Right. Yeah.
So we were already going down that path, and everybody's been kicking the can down the road, complaining about previous administrations. But this is the past 4 years.
I think part of the reason we're all here, it's one of the biggest topics in town. For me, from a business standpoint, we all have different backgrounds, right? And I think it's what makes us great. We're kind of balanced.
Yeah, right. There's an overused word, but I think it's applicable in this situation, and that's transparency.
Correct.
Right. And you say very few people in Long Beach know what happened with Haberman, but they do know the name Haberman.
True Hollywood story, right?
Right. It's a legend, right?
Yeah.
But it's a legend that's hurting the town. But the transparency is they're not really telling it the way it happened.
Right.
They're taking a victory lap for a victory that didn't happen.
Right. So again, could have been settled for almost next to nothing, and certainly not $75 million or what anybody dreamed of, which is the $100
and now we're looking at the idea that there are going to be future buildings coming, right? And they're going to be bigger and they're going to be taller, and there's going to be more people.
And we going to see $1 from it, or we're going to have more buildings built,
right? And
that we pay for. That we pay extremely wealthy developers to pay for. So the everyday mom and pop taxpayer are paying these developers to build stuff because of the mismanagement of the city. Right. That's what it comes down to.
And where's the plan for parking and traffic patterns?
Right.
We recently had a sinkhole in Long Beach that has essentially shut the town down.
Yes. It's still there.
This I know. Yeah. So there needs to be a plan. There needs to be a strategy. What's the strategy? What is the plan? Where are people going to park? How is this going to affect traffic? Is it going to take me more than 30 minutes to get from my house in the canals to Brendan's place? Is that how long it's going to take?
Well, in previous administrations, and something I was always, and I right now I'm a big fan of is previous administrations leased private property for parking.
Right. I think
which
that actually,
you can't take away parking like they continuously do
they took it
with
away.
no solution. No, they continuously do.
Right.
It's happened every year. I mean, just of the building of the super block alone.
And that's going to hurt the small businesses as well.
It's going to hurt everybody.
I'm not going to Long Beach. I can't park there.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to hurt the beach. It's going to hurt. It hurts everything, right? You have to make the beach, which should be our biggest revenue driver, right? There's a lot more that can be done with that beach. And it's just such a lack of inability or innovation to create revenue for the city of Long Beach that the residents can have an offset of their tax base, right?
And it's not just increasing the price of a
it's just
beach ticket.
but that's taken from the resident, right? It's always, hey, we have a shortage. Okay, what do we do? So it's a tax in one form or another, right? It's like we're getting property tax like we just had or continue to have, or it's find a way. One of these new things now with the businesses is every business in town, they're trying to charge, $150 for a table, and I think it's $60 or $75 per chair, and wanted to go to $1,500 per table. Why most villages around Long Island are, doing things like Live at 5, like Patchogue, Farmingdale, Rockville Centers, Garden City. They shut down the street.
Small businesses.
They make family events. They're driving people to the city to support small businesses, especially in a seasonal town the way we are, right? But instead, it's like you want to nickel and dime the businesses. And I got a news flash for everybody. Look around town. I notice it every day. Go from the movie theater on Park Avenue and go all the way down west and look at the amount of stores that are starting to become vacant, right? So, there's a tremendous problem. You keep, my father always said, you kill the chicken, you get no more eggs. And that's what's happening here. You just keep taxing the residents. You keep taxing the businesses.
Another tax, Chris,
tax.
coming down the pike here is they want to create this adjudication administrative board.
Yes, that's a good one.
That's usurping the judges, essentially circumventing.
But let me ask you this. You're a guy with law enforcement background. What is wrong with our courts now on such a financially strained city that we want to create another court for a court that's not a capacity or doesn't have any issue? We already have 2 city judges.
And we don't pay for it.
We do not charge the city to handle that.
So then you're going to have another court just to handle traffic. So you're going to have employees, administrative costs, the guards. They're
going to have to create a bureau.
It's a whole bureau. It's millions for what?
And there's going to have to be a budget. They're going to have to hit a number to support that.
Right.
And guess who's paying? Guess how they're hitting that number? By banging out the residents.
Right. But I'm
asking you because you have a very vast, you have a big law enforcement background. Why would they do that? I can't comprehend it because I have a different background. I have a business background. For me, I run things like a business, and I go, we already have something that works, and we also have no money. So why are we going to go? And we don't need it, right? There's no need for it. We're not a capacity. The courts are not overflowing. There's nothing like that.
And we elect judges.
That's
take care of that.
That's the beauty of America in general. We never talk about national things, but that's the beauty of America. So tell me,
listen, I can't read their minds, but I will say,
I'm sorry
that they're trying. Not yet, but AI is coming.
It's coming, yeah.
But revenue generation is never a good idea. especially for a police department. You want to generate revenue in different ways, as you say, but not using the police, not using the special
That
cops.
puts a divide
not
between
trying to create this enmity that the community will feel when they see a cop come down the block. Or when the kids come down, the mall, and they look at your inspection sticker every morning, and they're going down every block, and they're trying to find a summons, a ticket that they can write. Yeah. And what's that going to create?
It's going to create a big divide between the community. We have one of the most organic, one of the most organic.
We have a great police department.
We have a great.
Let's support the police department rather than use the police department to generate revenue and then generate misery. Right?
Correct.
And create.
And you know what? That weighs unfairly on the police department, the police officers themselves, because they're just being told what to do, right? And I know a lot of the police officers in town, they're great people.
Yeah, right.
But, if they're told to go at 2 a.m. and find summonses, and you wake up to that when you're already, we're in record inflation and we already have these tax hikes, and it's just taking money as much as you could. But like you said, weaponizing the police department for the residents.
I think it's actually more of a slap at the judiciary in Long Beach than it is. I mean, it may be revenue generating, but I think it's against the judiciary. And we have great judges, and they're local guys. They're people that we know, that we elected, that are
the residents of
Long Beach residents.
Ultimately, they answer to us.
Correct.
And an administrative bureau will not answer to us because they're created from the administrative state, and we don't want to go there.
Right. And have one job to do, and that's collect money.
And we'll talk about all this stuff the next time when we meet to unite the beach.
Sounds good.
So we'll see you guys soon. In the meantime, always check out our Instagram and Facebook pages. And until next time.
Can you show me how to get on
Stay tuned.
Instagram, please?